Kogan, Rocky Balboa, music on cassette tapes, VHS tapes, and Chuck Chico Kyle. Staples of my childhood. Most of them have gone away. But up until this past weekend, we had one left. Beloved Chuck Kyle. From everybody at Keon Sports, we want to say thank you for your 40 years of coaching, teaching, molding young men, and just being a tremendous human being. We're never going to forget you. What you did for Keon Sports will never be forgotten. What you did for my life will never be forgotten. My cousin who went there, my best friend who went there, so many young men. Thank you. And now that heartfelt moment is over, cheap plug for my book in which he wrote the foreword for. So if you want to keep Chuck Kyle with you forever, that's Northeast Ohio, high school football rivalries, you can read his beautiful foreword and learn all about the tradition of St. Ignatius. Now that cheap plug is over, welcome to week 4 of the Keon Sports Playoff Preview Podcast. Gentlemen, welcome in.
Thanks for having us again, Vince.
Yeah, I had to crack at least one joke there, else I was going to cry. That's how that works. All right, guys. I am happy that you are here. We have a ton to talk about. We're going to get to it right away, and we're going to start with the Italian stallion himself, Dom Clary. We're going to go right to you, Dahmer. Big game this past weekend. A lot of people thought it was going to be a lot closer than it was, including us. I know you predicted Olmsted Falls to win. My goodness, what happened? Why was Avon, after kind of a tough first quarter there, able to absolutely run away with it?
You could say tough first quarter, but it wasn't really. I mean, yeah, they go up touchdown drive. Yeah, they fumble. Other than that, that was the only two signs of weakness. And that drive, they were still looked fine. Just gave up a touchdown. It happens. The fumble wasn't great. The hardest it was raining on the night. But I'll tell you what, I don't know what game plan or what speech was said before, but that defense, Vince, was just uphill the entire time. Their nose tackle was going sideline to sideline making plays. They had safeties making plays in the backfield. I mean, Earnhardt was incredible as always, whether it was running the ball, whether it was being a linebacker, and it just blowing things up in the backfield. They said Conti's not gonna beat us. Someone else might. Rocco's not going to, and that's what they did. And that's a tough thing to do. You said an Avon team had a game plan, they followed through, and they could just do everything they wanted on offense. Credit to Olmsted Falls, they did everything they could, but this is one of the best teams. Since covering for you guys, this is probably the best performance I've seen single-handedly from any team.
Kevin Earhart, and it is Earhart, the kind of kid plays both sides of the ball. I know we gave him our Iron Man award for everything he does on both sides, playing linebacker, playing fullback. He doesn't get a lot of the glory, a lot of the stats that some of those other kids do, but I'm so glad you brought up his name because he's the kind of kid, we had him on the show when we first got started doing podcasts with players, very humble, came to Avon to play baseball and, plays football in the fall just to kind of stay in shape, but the kid is absolutely dynamic. Very, very glad you got to be there also for Rocco County's last game. I'm sure that had to be emotional as heck for everybody involved. Just a fun time. Great time for those kids in Olmsted Falls. Sorry for them it had to fall short 2 years in a row to the same team. And it's ironic to me for this. I'm going to point this out. 2 years in a row they played Avon real close, down to the wire in the regular. There's a giant dog in the picture out of nowhere. They played Avon down to the wire 2 years in a row during the regular season, only to get blown out in the playoffs. So to me, that is, I can't get that dog out of my mind. That is Coach
Josie
Elders.
had to make an appearance.
That is Coach Elders. It's a tribute to Coach Elder, basically. His ability to make adjustments, and when those kids see that offense, that triple option offense, more than once a season, they're there to stop it the second time around. Good stuff. Now, Dom, we're going to stay with you real quick. What do you feel this coming weekend Avon is going to do with Toledo Central Catholic, who really, they beat Avon Lake 21-0, but then they came out and they beat the brakes off of Highland?
So I've been saying this. I don't know too much about Central Catholic, so I'm not going to come out here and like guarantee a win for Avon. But if they can bring up a portion of how they played, they should win by 10 points, honestly. And again, this is me saying it with no knowledge. I couldn't name you one player in Central Catholic, and that's on me. I've not covered them all year. Honestly, it is what it is. That's a good team, though. And everything that I've seen, I know when we saw they were beating Highland, I know everyone thought, why can this team not beat Avon? So it's going to be a tough game. Avon's going to grind it out, but again, if they can scout the way that they scouted, again, it's a team that they play every year, but the Central Catholic's team they never play. But now, like, if you could scout and still play as hard as you did, there's no reason why this team can't win and then, go to that semifinal round. But it's going to be a tough game. That's going to be exciting. I'm excited to try to follow that game while I'm elsewhere. But that's going to be. I mean, if you're going to be at that game, you're going to be at a doozy. That's for sure.
Yeah, and look, man, you didn't get much of a second change there. Let me tell you, you are covering Massillon versus Lake, two of the best teams in the state. It pains me to give Massillon any credit, but they are unbelievable again this year. Lake, a lot of people feel like they're going to beat them. So this game, you're going to be seeing at the glorious Cole McDaniel's favorite stadium, Byers Field, coming up this Friday night. Dom, it's not a letdown that you're not covering the Avon TCC game.
No, I still get a good one. Joe, I'm not upset about it. I'm just saying I wish I could, again, like you, how you wish you could be at all 27 games every week.
I'm sick of that.
It's just one of those things where I wish I could duplicate myself and go to both.
Hey, I've been there. It's all good. And this time around, you won't be $10.
Yeah, Vince, let me point out something that everybody here is probably not thinking about. Toledo Central Catholic, again, none of us really got to cover them this year.
Nope.
So we can't really name the players on their current roster, but I'll never forgive them for maybe one of the worst NFL quarterbacks ever in my lifetime coming through that program. Deshaun Kaiser, proud Toledo Central Catholic alum there, came to the Browns, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I'll never forgive them for Deshaun Kaiser. But no, Avon's a great team. We talked about it. I said I think Avon's on the path to the state championship game against Winton Woods if they continue playing the way they have. But wanted to throw that in there since we're in Northeast Ohio. We've got a lot of Browns fans who watch and listen. There's your little fact of the day. Deshaun Kaiser, Toledo Central Catholic.
Before the show goes completely off the rails, I got to throw this out there, okay? If you stay put and pick Deshaun Watson in 2017 like you should have, all this crap the Browns are going through 5 years later doesn't exist. You don't trade away. I'll stop now. But basically, that draft killed the Browns. I don't care. I love Myles Garrett, but if you go Garrett 1, Watson's still sitting there. I think we had like 4 or 5 until we traded it to the Texans, and the rest is history. Okay, before I get too pissed off, Cole, we're gonna go to you. What happened? Because I know Dahmer predicted the upset. I felt like Mentor was going to win. I didn't have enough courage to predict the upset. I went with Medina, but I had a strange feeling. As I'm driving down 71 to Brunswick, it's raining, but it's a drizzle. It's not that bad. But I'm thinking, like, I wonder what it's like in Twinsburg right now. Because if it's pouring in Twinsburg, Medina's in trouble. Cole, what happened?
Well, the main thing with this game is the rain. And we talked about that. Medina likes to go spread. They want to go 5 wide. But I actually think they could have gone a completely different direction and caught Mentor off guard. We know that Medina has the ability to run the ball with Stoddard, with putting Jack Wojak in the backfield as that pistol back. Also, they incorporated a goal line package that I actually think you could run really anywhere on the field and pick up yards and chunks in the rain. And I would have liked to have seen them utilize that and take advantage of that in their game plan. Here's the problem. They didn't receive the ball to start the game. And we questioned the physicality. Could they be physical this season? Now, against Mentor came out and they popped them in the mouth initially. First drive, they marched down the field. They scored a touchdown. Now, there's the whole fiasco of what jersey number Stoddard's actually wearing, but he comes out in number 10 on that first drive instead of his number 19. Everybody in the press box is confused on who's actually out there, but it's clearly Stoddard. And they start moving the ball a little bit, but then on fourth down, turnover on downs. They are a team that is willing to go for it almost all the time, almost anywhere on the field. They failed on that fourth down conversion. Minter marches back down this field and scores a touchdown, go up 14-0. This is where I think the problem started to arise. Not as much in the first drive, but I think that second drive, you need to come back out. It's so early in the game. It's still the first quarter. You have so much time that I think they could have actually incorporated the run, not tried to go for so many deep, big shots and try to get everything back all at once. You have plenty of time. You have plenty of players, plenty of ability to get back into this game. I think they were forcing too much, and that was the big problem. Really, they might have converted. I don't even remember at this point, but there were so many failed fourth down conversions, 0 of 6 on those first 6 fourth down conversion attempts. And I think that is the killer for Medina. They had every bit to get back into this game, but they dug themselves into that hole. A lot of credit to Minter because they played a great game. They came out with a great game plan. In pregame warmups, they seemed to have more energy than Medina did. I'm not sure. Maybe Medina getting a little complacent, comfortable after winning 2 in a row versus this team. I'm not sure. But Minter came out with the energy. Mitchell Waite was fantastic on the ground. And some of those RPOs they were running where Scotty Fox was deciding to run it himself, he pieced together a pretty nice game reading the defense. They didn't have to pass the ball hardly at all, and they were able to get it done. Credit to their defense for making some stops, but I would argue that Medina, the problem is when you face like a 3rd and 3, a 3rd and 2, you don't need to run go routes and bomb it down the field. I mean, all you need is those 3 yards. Keep that drive going. You then have an incompletion on 3rd down, for example, and then on 4th down, then you fail on the conversion. When you should have just run a shorter play, shorter route, not gone for that deep ball. And that's one thing where I think Stoddard's going to improve on that next season. It worked against a lot of inferior teams, but when you come up against teams that are more similar to your level, sometimes those go routes down the field work out. Sometimes it results in incompletions. And in the rain, it was much more of the incompletions, despite a decent stat line for Stoddard. I just think that as much as Minter came out and played great, Medina, if they didn't have so many failed 4th down conversions, they could have won that game, actually.
You know, it's amazing because this is 3 straight seasons of really good Medina football teams, 0 regional championships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to swallow that fact with all the hype that's been with them the last couple of years. We talked about Minter possibly being that mental, hiccup for them, but they had beaten 2 times in a row. So they'd shown that they could get past them. But really, like I said, 3 straight years of this where they cannot seem to get to that regional championship game and win it. They had been to it the last 2 years and lost this year. They fall a week short. Brandon, before I get to you,
I was going to say, just not to pile on to Medina here, but this was something that we talked about a little bit when the playoffs started, and something that I was worried about was just the complacency of the offense. We saw them get tested earlier in the year against Strongsville in week 2, where, Strongsville went up 14-0 early, and the passing game just wasn't there. Stoddard threw an interception on his very first time out on the field, and that's when we saw, like Cole said, they started running Stoddard out of the shotgun and started being able to, pound the ball and show a different dimension. But again, so many inferior opponents they went up against this year, they didn't have to break that out again at all. So I feel like it kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. Playoffs come around, things tighten up a little bit, you stick to what you know. And this just feels like, kind of to what Cole was saying, it was a lack of adjustments, not the talent on the field, that really ended up killing Medina. Because had they gone out there and done that same thing and not panicked and just started running the ball and controlled the game a little bit more with the weather, which is something is completely out of your control, we might be talking about something completely different. If nothing else, it would have been a much better game. Medina could be out there again this week.
Brandon, you touched on something very important there with the strength of schedule. When you look at who Minter plays on a year-to-year basis, whether it's Ignatius or Eds or Maslin, Clarkson North from Toronto, Canada. They play a murderer's row. I think Lake Catholic's been on there, Benedictine, on and on we go. Yes, they had that GCC schedule where they're playing a lot of the same teams Medina is, but when they go out of conference, they're playing some just really, really good teams, good programs, kind of preps them for that moment. Speaking of that, though, I want to say this is kind of funny to me because when I think about Medina or any kind of high flying high school football team where they're going to make a movie out of it, I always picture the four of us, and this is kind of me just being a dork, but I always picture Cole as the young hotshot offensive coordinator, Brandon the voice of the team, because every good sports movie has an amazing announcer, right? You always remember the announcer. So I picture Brandon doing that. Cole's, like that young hotshot, fresh out of college coordinator everybody wants to get.
That new offense that no one's seen before type of thing. The spread offense in 2007.
Dom's the mascot, right? We never see his face. We just see him as the big kind of mascot. And I'm the dorky writer with zero athletic ability of any kind who follows the team around and writes about them and everything. And then in the end, we all dump Gatorade over the coach. Like, to me, I always see that, And as the movie's going on, people are trying to get Cole to leave the program to come coach their team. He's got offers left and right. The head coach is getting all upset. And Brandon is that iconic voice that you don't forget. You know what I'm talking about. Like every Harry Doyle, Major League, every great sports movie has that voice. So I've way too much time on my hands.
So when do we start production on this? I mean, I think we got something going here, guys.
I'm boycotting this.
We can dive into movies. You're the
Brandon.
Italian stallion, Dom. Come on.
Right.
We've got to get the horse head for you and everything. It'll be great.
Cole just looks like that young hotshot offensive coordinator
running the wing Q or something.
You made the dog upset.
That's right. Listen, so the game I was at, great game, and I want to touch on it a little bit because we have a lot of Holy Name fans. I'm a big Holy Name fan. Guys, they were down 16-3 at halftime to a Mansfield team who looked for a second like they were going to pull off the upset, knock off that number 1 seed. This Mansfield team, guys, they looked amazing. Deontez Bradley took a jet sweep, 86 yards. Nobody could touch him. He ends up getting knocked out of the game before halftime, concussion protocol, gets banged up. They come out, okay, still, Mansfield's up 16-3, has the ball, all right, goes down past the 50-yard line, gets to the 44 of Holy Name. Opening drive. Holy Name's done nothing. They have 3 points to account for, okay? If Mansfield gets a first down, gets a touchdown on the board, it's probably over. 4th and 2, they go for it, they don't get it. Holy Name gets to stop. Holy Name immediately scores. Extra point good, 16-10. Austin Wondolowski at the goal line to score it. Austin Wondolowski, the coach's son. This kid did everything but drive the bus home, and I'm not sure he might have did that too. Holds place kicks, punts, run, middle linebacker, running back, catches balls on a wheel route. This kid is incredible. Wondolowski pulls it to 16-10. They go for the onside kick. This is a team that had 3 points all game until halftime. They go for the onside kick. They get it. Bada boom, bada bing, touchdown again, just like that. Within 5 minutes into the second half, it's 17-16. Nobody scores again. Holy Name plays phenomenal defense, holds them the rest of the way. Javon Williams was bottled up in the first half, got loose in the second half. Andrew Cole, the receiver, phenomenal job out of him, caught 6 balls over 100 yards in the second half alone. It was like Holy Name found that magic. Now, Brandon, I want to go back to you and also Cole for a little bit here as well. I'll admit, I did not see Padua in person. As a website, I think we covered them a good 6 times. You guys were there. Other than the game of yours that I watched you call against North Royalton, Brandon, we'll start with you. What will Padua have to do to stop that juggernaut running attack and now passing attack too with Cole from Holy Name, keeping in mind that Kashan Garner, one of their best backs, never even touched the ball. It was all Wando, Sanchez, and Williams. Brandon.
Look, I mean, so first of all, if we're basing this off of the Padua team that we saw was it week 3, week 4 this year? I think it was week 3.
Week 3.
If that's the team we're talking about, then Padua has no chance here, right? They really struggled at the start of the season, 0-3. They did play Holy Name in week 1, 21-16, so it was a relatively close game. But what we saw with Padua was a team that it took them a very long time to kind of discover their identity, and now they are getting hot at the absolute right time. And the pieces were always there, but it took a while just for everything to kind of mesh. And again, couldn't have picked a better time for it. Just kind of recap what they've done, guys. I mean, 5 for 5 in the regular season, or 5 and 5 during the regular season. Again, just looking at the numbers and the record, I don't think anybody really expected them to do much in the playoffs. They've been underdogs in every game that they've played. But now all of a sudden, the offense is humming, 34 points a game in the playoffs. They took down Buckeye, Columbia, and Norton all in the process. And really, like, I kind of had to dive into this to see, what changed for Padua. And it came down to 3 key areas for me. And these are 3 areas that are going to be big for any team looking to make a playoff run. And they've been able to do that. And that's the rushing attack, the pass rush, and then their ability to force turnovers, right? These are all things that have really swung the momentum for them. So, like, running the ball, one of the guys we talked about in our game and at the beginning of the year was Marquise Hall, as a junior running back and linebacker, really the best athlete on the field at any given time. About 8 yards a carry this year, 13 rushing touchdowns, 3 more through the air. Again, 8 yards a carry, second on the team in rush yards per game. It's 7. And then you're seeing him get it done on the other side of the ball, too. He's got 5 sacks on the year, leads the team in tackles. So having a player like that is absolutely huge. But then he's got 2 solid backs behind him, too. Roderick Love is 5'9", 170, kind of almost plays more of the Darren Sproles type of game. But really, he ended up leading the team in rushing when all was said and done, 88 yards a game. He accounted for 9 touchdowns. Then Caden Fayok, the 3rd running back on the roster, still got 6 himself. So 3 solid running backs, very similar to what we see on the Holy Name side. So I think they can match up with them very well there. As far as pass rush goes, same thing. Very impressive campaign on that side. Jesse Haynes is a player that we're going to want to watch out for. We saw a little bit of him in our game. I feel like it wasn't like a huge breakout performance for him, but looking at some of the highlights and things that are posted online, 6'7", 230 pounds for a high schooler does not move like he's that size. This kid's speed is incredible off the line, and he just looks like an absolute monster, whoever he's lining up against. 10.5 sacks on the year, 15 tackles for loss, still 42 tackles altogether. So he's really never out of the play. On top of that, a lot of other production as far as that pass rush goes. Marquise Hall, like we mentioned, also plays linebacker. He got 5 sacks in the year. Devin Shaw Mason's all over the field, 3.5 sacks, 32 as a team altogether. So again, very impressive on that side. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on is just their ability to create turnovers. We had 3 guys, Devin Shaw Mason, Colin Nadier, and Christian Ruggiero, 3 interceptions each on the year. 15 picks as a team, plus 12 in the turnover margin, which, I mean, that's how you win games at any level, is being able to win that turnover battle. And they really turned on the Jets as far as that goes the second half of the year. And then just to even throw this out there too, I haven't even mentioned quarterback yet. And Tyler Tusai was impressive when we saw him, even though the team as a whole wasn't particularly great. He's not going to light the world on fire, but he has the ability to push the ball down the field. Still about 2,000 yards this year, 17 touchdowns to 12 picks. He is susceptible to making that mistake still. He's still learning, still developing as a quarterback, but he leads a balanced attack. They don't have one receiver that they necessarily rely on constantly. He's thrown touchdowns to 6 different guys this year already. And then they've got 3 receivers, and Karen Thomas, Borky, and then Gio DeSenia, all averaging 40 yards a game. So very balanced on that side as well. So all of that to say, this, I feel like, has all of the makings to be the best game that we've seen in the playoffs thus far. These are 2 very evenly matched teams and 2 teams that are built very similarly. I'm still taking Holy Name because I think defensively they're just a little bit more sound. And again, they had that advantage. They beat them earlier in the year, but this Padua team is way better than their record. And I'm really expecting a phenomenal matchup coming up this weekend.
Well, tremendous job on that, Brandon. Thank you very much for that analysis. Holy Name, if you were watching and listening, Brandon, and you want a copy of that scouting report, reach out to him on Twitter at It's Soda Not Pop. Also, what makes this game great, in my opinion, Holy Name versus Padua, always week 1. They call it the Parma Holy War, right? It's a great rivalry. Who doesn't like rivalries? In fact, there's a book about them, Northeast Ohio, high school football rivalries. A reminder, Christmas coming up soon. Makes a fantastic gift. Okay, Cole McDaniel, my man, what is going to happen this weekend? St. Ed's, I've said it. I've seen them now, I think, 4 times this season. I'm sorry, man, but they're like watching a professional football team. It's unbelievable. I love SWC. I love the GLC. It's local. Most of the schools are 10 minutes from my home. But if I want to watch a game and feel like I'm watching the pros on television, I go watch St. Edward's, Massillon, sometimes Ignatius, depending on the season. What is it going to take? You have now seen Mentor a few times this season. I want to say Brunswick, Medina twice. I mean, you've had a good taste of Mentor. What happens against St. Ed's?
Well, first of all, credit to Brandon on the great recap and great summary there on Padua. But if they want to win that game against Holy Name, they're going to have to get up and down the field more times than Dom has in this podcast. So he has been up and down throughout this entire show.
This dog, man, every time she leaves my room,
blame the dog.
The couch cushion is destroyed. So I have to keep getting up and I shut my door. None of my housemates are here. I'm sorry. I didn't realize the dog, I'd be the only one here with the dog. So I'm sorry.
Well, you're the mascot. It's all good.
All good.
He's just practicing. Yeah. You could always just bring the couch cushion in the room.
I don't want that because then we won't have a couch cushion. I get yelled at.
Plug for the book. Go take a look at Vince's book. You can find it on Amazon. Again, we're going to plug that throughout the night. A fantastic gift as we're approaching the holiday season. Anyway, back to the game as Vince was asking me about the Mentor and St. Ed's game. Here's the thing. I've seen Mentor 3 times. Vince is right about that. He's seen St. Ed's multiple times. I saw them in a row at the end of last year during the postseason. I haven't seen them live in person this season. Here's what I do know. There were a lot of good juniors, a lot of good sophomores on that St. Ed's team last year that won that state championship. And then this year, the seniors that they did graduate last year, seems like they have replaced those holes. They filled those gaps quite nicely. So when you've really not allowed any gaps to open up and you've really filled every single spot and your team is pretty much about the same level, if anything, a little difference, like Vince has talked about, then honestly, you won the state championship last year. If you perform at the level you did last season, you don't switch off, you don't get complacent, then you should go on to win. And trust me, I remember this same point last year, a season ago, it was Medina going up against St. Ed's. And Drew Aller, all the hype around him and that Medina team and being really solid. The first quarter at the beginning looked like it could be interesting, and then it immediately just went south for Medina because the pressure of St. Ed's was too much to deal with. The scheme for Mentor is certainly different than what we've seen from Medina last year, what we saw from Medina this year. So I don't expect this game to be exactly like that game from last year. Obviously it's a different team in there. I think Mentor's going to have to rely on trying to run the ball with Mitchell Waite. He got a ton of touches, 33 of them by my count, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was a huge key factor, and Scotty Fox didn't have to go to the air much. I think he only threw the ball about 15 times. He was really running the ball as well. So that's what they're going to have to do. Mentor's going to have to get physical, but it's hard to out-physical St. Ed's. They're one of the most physical football teams in the state of Ohio, and I'd argue probably one of the most physical teams in all of the country, because you have a lot of those teams. You could go down to some of those great schools in Florida and Texas, and they've got all these skill position players that come out of there, but they lack some of that physicality in just the style of football that they play. It is true Midwest. We are going to pound you. Your defensive line is not going to be able to deal with our offensive line. And that is just how Ed's lines up. I think their front on both sides of the ball actually is incredibly impressive. And that's going to be the problem. Brennan Vernon for Mentor is a big key. But every single game, even this last week, he was still quiet as well. He's going to have to find a way to get pressure, get past that talented offensive line of St. Ed's. And on the other side of the football, the offensive line for Mentor is going to have to find a way to protect their quarterback, open up holes as well for Mitchell Waite to run, or else they're not going to do much of anything. I could see, even though it's going to be a different look for the game, I could see the result being similar to last year in the sense of the first quarter looks like it's going to be a better game than what it is. And then by the time we get to the second quarter, Eds just continues to pour it on, because my gut feeling is that they are not going to switch off. They're not going to get complacent. They're so well coached. They're so talented. I mean, they are just men playing against boys at times when they come up against some of these other programs, and we've seen it through the playoffs so far.
There's a couple of things I want to point out too, Cole, because my opinion of St. Ed's has changed since really the last time we sat down and had the time to talk about them. They've gotten better.
Yeah.
I've seen them, I think, 3 times since our last phone call where we really went deep on them. Kilbane and Gideon on defense are phenomenal. And if a team needs to bounce to the outside, one of those guys is always there to bring them down. I'm not going to say they shut down Lamar Sperling when they played Hoban a few weeks back, but they contained him. If they can contain Waite the way they did Sperling, then this game's going to be a boat race. Scotty Fox, the young kid, I think everybody's pulling for him. Who wouldn't pull for a sophomore? This is such a big moment. But the weight of the world is going to be on that young man's shoulders, because St. Ed's, once they get up by a couple touchdowns, they start bringing the heat on every single play. They're going to go for the turnovers. They're going to go for as many sacks as they could get. I've spoken to a lot of people with St. Ed's, whether it's, the play-by-play guy, Ed Mendoza, my cousin Carmen Angelo, we call him Sticks, who does the stats there. Shout out for Sticks, who I always sit next to in the press box. Good guy. We've all talked about it. They've talked about it on air. I'll bring it up on air as well. Casey Bullock, right now, at this point in the season, Bullock is further ahead than Christian Ramos was at this point, almost as a senior last year. Bullock's better. They have Marvin Bell. Now, Danny Enovich, Eno, as we called him, he's gone, but Marvin Bell is right there where Enovich was, if not better. Joshua Gribble getting hurt a few weeks ago, that hurts him a little bit, having that second back. But they also have they always reload, is my entire point. And I think that's going to be the biggest problem for Mentor. There is no weakness really that I've seen, quite frankly. And I've called one of their games. I've written about 4 of them. There's no weakness I could see that St. Ed's presents. Now, obviously, Massillon beat them. I think it was week 2. So they are beatable. I just don't see it happening. We're going to see how it goes. I want to talk about one more game here before we kind of get to the lightning round and bring this thing home tonight. And that was the game I was at on Saturday night. I love pulling doubles when I can. Another reason why I love the playoffs being on 2 nights during the playoffs gives me more chances to go, right? So Saturday night, I covered Elyria Catholic against Glenville, and I had a feeling it might be Elyria Catholic's final game, and unfortunately, it was in a big way. 54-7 drubbing at the hands of Glenville. First of all, shout out to the North Ridgeville staff, AD Don Sparks. That press box is incredible. You could fit half of the DeLuca family in there. I mean, it's enormous, right? So I'm sitting in there, with 2 other press box people, and that's it. And it seemed like a palace. So just a beautiful press box, all the stats you could want, beautiful facility, good to go. But here's the thing, guys. If you go back and read my story, I lay it out there pretty good. 5 turnovers for Elyria Catholic. Glenville really didn't do much to win that game. They were handed one short field after another the entire time. They barely put together any drives, over 50 yards. Everything they started was deep in EC territory. Now, I'm not saying if Elyria Catholic doesn't commit those 5 turnovers that Glenville still doesn't win. I'm sure they do, right? The talent differential was obvious. Here's the bulletin board material for the Tar Blooders. You play like that again, you're going to get knocked out by Van Wert, and it's going to be a stunner, but that's what's going to happen. I'm sorry. Personal fouls galore in the 3rd and 4th quarter once they had a big lead. Lost their composure at times, which is mind-blowing when you have one of the best coaches in Ohio high school football history, Ted Ginn Sr., standing there on the sidelines. I have no idea what was going on. Guys, they called 5 timeouts. With the lead, all 5 timeouts, because they didn't have the right personnel on the field. What are you doing? Just mass confusion, mass chaos. It didn't seem like they knew what was going on part of the time, which, again, I find stunning considering just how damn good they are. Now, I want to bring that up. I want to bring this up. Personal fouls aside, Javon Goodson and Deshaunte Jones might be one of the best 1-2 running back combinations in the state, if not the best. These are two kids the size of linebackers running through people and holding onto the ball. I've covered Glenville twice this season. I don't think I've seen them commit a single fumble. They beat Avon, and they might only beat Avon by a touchdown, but they beat Avon soundly in that game. I mean, they physically beat them. Just size galore. If Glenville keeps it together, knocks off the personal fouls, knocks off the chaos or whatever was going on the sidelines, they could win a state title. It's going to be interesting to see. And again, if you want to put that up on a bulletin board, go for it. I want nothing more. You guys know it. I want nothing more than Northeast Ohio teams to win as many state titles as possible. Trust me, Glenville, that's the best thing you can do is win a state title. I will be so happy for you and your coach. Just knock off the nonsense, and I think you got it. That being said, boys, we got 5 minutes left for the lightning round. We're going to make it quick. Brandon, we are going to start with you, bottom right corner there. Next week is Thanksgiving, next Thursday. What is the most overrated Thanksgiving food that everybody raves about that you personally can't stand? And what is the one food that you can't get enough? You would eat it 300 days a year.
All right, guys, can we stop pretending that the turkey is the centerpiece of everything? Right? The turkey is there because it needs to exist. You need some sort of meat, some sort of substance, but it's all about the sides. It's the mashed potatoes, the stuffing, the gravy, the cheesy potatoes, mac and cheese, like the green bean casserole. That's what it's all about. That's what you're loading up on. That's what's good. And again, you have turkey. It's fine. But man, it is incredibly overrated. It is bland. It is like, I understand it depends on who's cooking it, whatever. I've done it. I've made good turkey. Still doesn't compare. Does not compare in the slightest. So I think we need to just get rid of the charade and just load up on lights, forget the turkey completely.
I agree with Brandon on something. I'm a big side dish guy. I'm the only person who would roll through KFC, wouldn't touch that chicken if my life depended on it. I think it's disgusting, but I would literally order almost every single side dish on that box. Back when I was skinny and weighed like $110 and could eat anything I want, I'd go straight through that thing and just clean house. For me, I love the sweet potatoes. I can't get enough, man. You put those in front of me, I'm gonna two-fist it. And I'm also with Brandon, not so much on the turkey, which I could really give or take. I'll eat it one day a year. I think stuffing's disgusting. Anything you stick inside a dead bird, cook it, and then pull it out with all the innards, no thank you. I'd rather barf in a bag. Cole, overrated, and which one can't you get enough of?
Well, it's all about the pumpkin pie. I mean, I love pumpkin pie. I'm a big pie person. Actually, here's the thing. You know this, Vince. I'm not the biggest cake person, so we had pie at my wedding as well. So you can't go wrong with pie, but pumpkin pie around this time of year is great. The thing is if my mom made pumpkin pie and when I was in school, I need to grab something really quick out the door before for breakfast, and I'd see a slice of pumpkin pie in there. I just grab a piece of pumpkin pie and just eat that for breakfast and then head out the door. That is the main go-to thing. I do agree with Brandon in the sense of I'll eat a little bit of turkey, but I don't necessarily love the turkey as much as some other people. Yeah, it's a staple of the holiday. I don't eat that much of it. I've never understood the hype around cranberry sauce, though. That's the one thing that I don't understand. So many people are like, cranberry sauce, cranberry sauce. I never got into it. My family just really never even had it. And then I'm not big into that at all.
Well, I think Brandon is like a world famous chef. So one of these nights we're gonna have like a Keon Sports dinner where he makes a few of the centerpieces. But I'm with Cole. I love pumpkin pie. I can't get enough. I don't care if I need to go to bed with heartburn. I will sit there and eat an entire one. Like, it's that good. Yep. All right, Dom, favorite and non-favorite.
So I'll tell you what, and I understand why people like it. I don't blame people for liking it. It is a staple of the holiday. I cannot stand pumpkin pie. Every time I take a bite of it, it's the way, it's just, I don't know. It's just everything about it. I don't think it tastes good. I don't think it's gooey, kind of. I just think it's gross.
It's not Italian enough for him.
It's not. But my family always made pumpkin pie or made apple pie with fresh apples from our tree. So we used to do that, and I love apple crisp as well. But I would say my favorite is stuffing. My aunt and my grandma, to both different sides of my family, make great stuffing. And I'll tell you what, I could just eat stuffing. Now, granted, I'm not like you fools where, I don't know the turkey's okay. I could eat white meat, dark meat, don't matter what type of turkey it is. I'm eating all of it. But but the stuffing, I could just eat stuffing and have an okay life. It's just so good.
If you ever go grocery shopping with Dom, make sure he is not hungry when you guys go to the grocery store.
It's bad.
The
it's
first
bad when
half
I'm
of
hungry.
that cart will be filled up with nonsense. We want to thank everybody
Stuffing.
again. It's been another fun time. We are going to try for another episode next week. Again, it's Thanksgiving, so we will see. It's a mystery if we do one or not. That being said, I want to thank you guys very, very quickly here. Cole McDaniel, not McDaniels, not to be confused with Josh McDaniels.
Yep.
Don Clary, Brandon Soderpenner. It's been great to see you guys. This has been a blast. For myself, Vince McKee, everybody listening, thank you. And one last time, I have tuition to pay. Buy the book, please. It's not cheap. $20. You can separate yourself for $20. Seriously. Look at that glossy cover. All right. Thank you.